So, welcome to February 2nd, Explore Careers in Customer Service. Customer service reps, call centers, uh, agents, a lot of names for these, but it's a growing industry, and we'll explore this today. I'm Liz Jennings. I'm employer engagement specialist with CareerForce in St. Paul, CareerForce all over, actually. I'm so happy to be welcoming today two employers who have really good reputations in the customer service representative field, uh, LTCG and Medica, both in the metro. So we're going to be hearing from them, and we're going to be hearing from CareerForce. I have a colleague, Heather Isaacs, who will be talking a little bit towards the end. And we're going to have plenty of time for all of your questions to be answered today about this field. But I want to use first CareerForce's jobs in demand data to set the scene on this. Um, on the careerforcemn.com site, we have a list of 30 jobs that have truly been in demand over the past year. And I should add, this list is constantly updated with up-to-the-minute labor market information so that you're always getting the most recent information from us. But customer service representatives have been number 9 on this list of 30. It's a growing field. What do you need to know about it? You know, sometimes we think, oh, it's just someone calling you, with sales, or it's just answering your question when you need some tech support help. But it's not just someone we call and ask for questions, but it's someone who behind the scenes is keeping very detailed records of all of the customer interactions. Really, that attention to detail is critical. They're a person who has a lot of experience in helping to resolve complaints, or helping to figure out if a number of complaints are coming in on a regular basis, what can you do within the department to help the process go smoother? It really requires a person with a good working knowledge of the company and of all of the opportunities and the answers to the customer's questions. And there could be some sales component to that. Sometimes call agents are asked to solicit sales for new or additional products, but that's not always the case. That is completely dependent on the type of environment and the type of company. So we'll be hearing from the speakers today about that. But really, what I think is really critical to know about this, that there's a really critical sense of interpersonal and communication skills that's needed for all of these positions, as well as skills in conflict resolution, decision making, and problem sensitivity, and really confidentiality for customers. There are a lot of different names for these roles. Sometimes you hear them as called account managers or account representatives. Sometimes we use the word call center, customer service agent, customer service rep, or specialist. So keep that in mind as you're listening to different webinars about these topics and looking for jobs within all of the different job agents. But really, it comes down to some of the daily work activities, discussing goods or services information with customers, patrons of the company, responding to those customer problems, maintaining good account records so that there really is a clear trail of everything that has been worked or promised or discussed. And then referring to customers to appropriate personnel, whether that's in the company or whatever the situation might be, and any other financial transactions that might be appropriate, might not be, depending on the company. Now, as I go along these information, I do want to point out, I always put the URL from either the Career Force or the Deeds labor market site or the ONET online that I get them from. So this particular one comes from Career Force MN from the Explore Careers area. Customer service rep really is a high demand field in the United States and in Minnesota specifically. It's considered to have a bright job outlook. Now, you might see the negative number there on the screen, 10-year growth, negative 2.5. But when we combine in retirements of existing personnel and shifting opportunities, there really will be at least 70,000 or more openings across the state over the next 10 years. In the metro, the latest numbers that we've had, and these numbers were updated in early January, there are at least 60,000 people in Minnesota employed as customer service reps across the state. So that's a pretty high number. The state of Minnesota also has a tool called Occupations in Demand that you are always welcome to use. It's on Deed's website on mn.gov/Deed. It's on the site there. And it's another look at what is the projected openings? What are the education requirements? What are the training requirements? In this case, and as we will hear, there are a lot of on-the-job trainings, short-term trainings that the companies engage with you to get you up and running in their environment. And the current demand indicator for customer service reps is 5 stars. It's high. Some of the educational requirements are a high school diploma or equivalent. In speaking skills, good communication skills, as we've just mentioned. This data came from the Jobs in Demand survey that is also on Deed's site and is also replicated on CareerForce MN. And then within the industry too, often there can be national requirements, though they are not required to apply to this any of the fields. Sometimes you do have the job description to see the job posting to see whether they are required. But some of the national certifications out there for people who want to take their career in a little bit deeper way are the HDI Support Center Analysts. The Institutes has some call center customer service representative training, and then a whole bunch of other certifications for industry specific, whether that's electronics or merchandising or retail federation. But again, those are some of the questions that you would need to ask depending on what field you're looking at. So just as another plug, one of the tools that I've used, even for gathering this information for this preamble, are the Explore Careers device on careerforcemn.com. So go to our main homepage, scroll down to the middle, you'll see a green bar across the middle, and then type in any career that you're thinking about. In this case, I typed in customer service, and I got much of this information. Another site for you to do some research as you're comparing jobs and looking at different industries that you're considering applying to is ONET Online. It's a federal resource. It's completely free. I have to give a plug, though. All of the employees, or most of the employees, work in Minnesota. They're your neighbors, they're friends, families. So I'm kind of proud that this federal resource is run by a Minnesota team. In their information on ONET Online for customer service rep, they have a lot more information, much more that I could include here, but some of the skills needed: active listening, speaking, service orientation, etc. And then some of the technology that's frequently used in some of these settings: customer relationship management software, database user interface, electronic email software, enterprise resource planning software, sometimes medical software, depending on your industry. So I really encourage you, if you've never used ONET Online, it's a wealth of resource, um, and it's easy to remember to go into there and then type in whatever you're looking for. So with that, that's my brief overview of the industry. But I'd like to jump right in to inviting our two two companies to start talking about what they are looking for. First, I'm pleased to introduce Todd Shank, Manager of Talent Acquisition of LTCG in Woodbury. Todd, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, great. Thank you
Excellent.
for being on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having myself. And then I actually brought a colleague of mine, Steve Jewell, that will be joining us and helping me run through some of this information. So, well, good. What I wanted to start out with is just to talk a little bit about what LTCG is as an organization. We're not a brand out there that most people would recognize. So, first of all, LTCG stands for Long Term Care Group. And who we are is we're a third party administrator. Um, and we work with several different insurance companies that sell products, insurance products. So typically they're known for life insurance. I'm guessing many of you could come up with a list of companies that sell life insurance. It's likely that there are clients. We work with about 50 clients in total. So this information is a little outdated, but the top 10 that sell long-term care in the U.S. are clients of ours in some sort of capacity. So when you think about what a third-party administrator is we're really their back office handling the processes after that sale of the long-term care insurance policy. So what that could mean is everything from handling the initial application processing, the underwriting, assessment type of work that's done on the front end, through the customer care professional roles, which is what we title our call center or customer service teams, which we'll obviously talk a lot more about, to what we call policy owner services that are dealing more with the billing, through the back end of also handling the claims against the the policies themselves as well. So again, if you think about what a large insurance company might need to do to support a product that they sell, they essentially can push some or all of that type of work to us, and we handle it for them. In many ways, we're doing this seamless to the policyholder or that customer that purchased that. So they might not ever know that they're talking with us specifically as LTCG, as we've got teams that are branded to handle those larger clients specifically. And it's not meant to be deceitful or disguising anything. It's just to make it a seamless experience for that customer. So can move to the next slide, I think. So here we've got just our mission, vision, and values slated. And one thing that I'm really proud about with this is that all of this material, although was kind of repackaged, all came directly from our employee base. So we're just about 1,500 employees now, but we put this together about 5, 6 years ago. We were about 900 employees at that time, and what we did is we put teams together. It wasn't a survey, but there were actually teams that got together in meetings, put together, who we are, who we want to be, how we see ourselves in the market, what our customers or clients say about us, and those types of things. And so this is really what we had come up with. And so our mission is to provide industry leading long-term care services and solutions while helping people through some of the most challenging times in their lives. So those who might not be familiar with long-term care, really what that is it's services that somebody typically would be receiving um, towards the end of their life. So the average age of a claimant actually is 84 years old. So I think we can all relate to grandparents, parents, whoever it might be in our lives that are in that age or have gone through that stage. And you can appreciate the type of care that might be needed in those later years in life. And although we're not necessarily the nurses that are bedside with these people or the therapists helping them through some of that, we're working with them on the policy administration to make sure that those services are there and available for them. Just to point out a few of the uh, other parts of this slide here, as far as our values. So act with integrity, pursuing excellence, sharing success, meaning just working kind of together as one team, that we're customer focused. And although, we're talking specifically about our customer service teams here, this is something that permeates throughout the entire organization. Whether you're talking with our customers or the others, or internally with different people, we're very much of a customer driven organization, client driven organization. And then finally, the last one on there, commit and deliver. Just wanting to obviously come through and make sure we're following through on everything that we're doing and need to be doing to meet our clients' expectations, but also on that individual level of working with those individual policyholders. And again, the customer service team is a great example of that when they call in and we're working with them directly on the phone. I'll jump to the next slide, Liz. So, here's just a little graphic around kind of a few of the areas that we normally highlight. And part of why I wanted to include all of this here today, just to give you a bigger understanding of what our organization does. Some of this I've mentioned a little bit already, but we'll talk through it in a little bit more detail. But outside of the customer service professional roles, I included what we call our policy owner services area and then our claims and care management area as well. Simply because those are both areas that are high probability of what somebody might be moving into as they further their career with LTCG. So not that there isn't some growth and opportunity room to stay within the customer servicing teams, because there absolutely is. And we typically hire people in at what we call a level 1 position, and they could grow into a 2 or a 3 or a lead. They could get into formal supervision. The quality side of auditing calls, workforce management, training, all have examples of people at the organization that have grown up into those positions. But those who look to take their career and specialize in another part of the organization. So looking at policy owner services, that's where we handle a lot of the billing. So if you think about insurance plans that any of you might have, you pay an annual bill or a monthly bill for those insurances, and that's this team. So they're working through processing that, so this becomes a little bit more of a technical role. But they're still working with the individuals over the phone too, because it's often that somebody might be looking to increase or decrease their coverages in long-term care, and that's going to take some special handling. So that might start in the customer servicing team, but then to go through that implementation and change would be a whole nother matter that this team would be handling. Same for what we call claims and care management. So people that may be on a track to become more clinical, this is a great team to get into because we employ nurses and social workers in this field. And with that, it's a more specialized area of the organization. So you work only on claims, but you get very deep into that area. And kind of the final role in that chain of potential promotions is what we call, internally we call it a decision maker, but it'd be called a care coordinator or care manager. And they're ultimately the one making the decisions on claimant eligibility. So they're having to evaluate what somebody's needs are clinically, along with having to understand what their policy actually covers. So different than, say, Medicare or Medicaid types of programs, or group insurance, these policies often are individual policies. And so there's just a lot to have to read into and understand and interpret in a specific policy that, that frankly, all of these positions need to understand. And that's probably one of the biggest learning curves within the organization, is just learning the complexity of what long-term care is. If you want to jump to the next slide. And I actually have Steve, if you could unmute yourself. Again, Steve Jewell is a recruiter on our team, and he actually focuses working on many of our call center positions. He's filled numerous roles over the years here with us, but I thought I'd have him speak to just a little bit about what the opportunities are, kind of what we look for in a candidate. So, Steve, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. As Todd said, my name is Steve Jewell, and I'm a recruiter with LTCG. I've been recruiting on and off for over the last 2 years, primarily focusing on the contact center and specifically call customer service representatives or call center people. The image you see on the screen is our Eden Prairie, we call it headquarters. It's really more of an administrative center than headquarters. But we do have a large call center in Woodbury, which houses on average about 300 employees. We have call centers down in Irving, Texas, another one in Carmel, Indiana, one of our older call center contact centers, and a newer one in Nashville, Tennessee. But through the pandemic, more and more, we've taken our call center practices out to the home or remote. So all our contact center people do work from home at this point, as do probably 99% of all our employees. So I want to just briefly speak to the customer professional position. Todd made mention that it's an industry that may not be necessarily growing, but 1 out of 4 Americans over the age of 65 will have some need for in-hospital or in-home care in their life. So the service that long-term care policies can provide is just that kind of coverage for in-home and short-term hospital stays or assisted living stays. So there is a demand for that, especially in the aging workforce or aging population in the United States. But back to LTCG and what we offer. Well, we do offer weeks of paid training, and that's I think a key distinction when you think about coming into any company. Yes, there's a lot to learn. I tell candidates that they're going to be working on the 3 legs of the stool. First leg is learning a policy, and we teach our call center representatives how to handle 99% of the calls they're going to receive. There are some standards or some typical questions that we get from policy owners, and we make sure that we prepare our call center reps to be able to handle those calls. Nobody, including me, wants to be told I'll have to get back to you because I don't know the answer. So we try and give that first line of support the information to do their jobs very well. We call it first call resolution. So to make that happen, we do offer 3 weeks of paid training. Because we are all work from home now, we're doing that through a series of Zoom calls, self-paced module learning, screen sharing, WebEx, conference calling, all sorts of different tools for adult learning to have people get up to speed on the 3 legs of the policy, the technology, because we do have a platform in which policy has to be pulled up. Authentication of the caller has to be identified. We have HIPAA guidelines. So there's a lot to learn on the tech side, the technology side. And then the third part is whatever that insurance company you're supporting has their specific customer service expectations. So all 3 of these really are kind of all together, the 3 legs of the stool that have you be successful. You don't take any phone calls until you've demonstrated a competency on all 3. We do have full-time work at this time. We are looking at scheduling some part-time work as we get into the month of March. We have a pilot that we're exploring in the month of March that will be 24 hours or less. And we don't know exactly how that's going to play out from hours work, but we are exploring that as a new kind of category of employees. Todd already mentioned about opportunities to grow, but we do ask everyone to stay in their call center role for the first year, given the amount and energy put into your training. After that first year, though, you can self-nominate to go to other roles in the organization that either match your professional goals or your academic background. But that first year is a 1-year request to stay in assignment unless you're being asked to move. And there are, again, opportunities to grow internally within the call center and then across the different functional teams. Bottom line, though, what we really seek in all our call center contact people, and I've had some success in working with this group of a population of candidates, is this role is really well suited for people that can multitask. The ability to be on a headset, taking a call, pulling up a policy while you're toggling to another screen to find out what was the last time Todd Shank called in, what was the nature of that call, what kind of policy does he have, what was the last issue that was resolved when he called in, all while I'm addressing him on the phone at the same time. So that ability to toggle back and forth, jump screens, but more importantly, be a generous listener, but also be results driven. We really want to make sure that we move to call resolution as quickly as we can, because the metrics these insurance companies hold us to are metrics like how many calls did you take a day, what's your average call length time, how many calls were dropped, people hang up because they didn't get contacted soon enough, first call resolution. So we do a variety of things to make sure that we're providing great service, that the client is happy with that service, the customer feels happy with the customer service experience they have. So we do focus on curiosity, adult learners, people that are driven to move through a variety of tasks in a day, but also are generous listeners and have empathy. Because as Todd mentioned earlier, most of the calls that we receive are from people that are going through a very distressful emotional situation, whether it's for themselves making their first claim or for an adult child as power of attorney handling some of their businesses for them. So I'll turn this back over to Todd, but I just want to make sure they understood that we do look for people that have a unique skill set, but we do train so you can come in and learn. Maybe I will jump on this next slide. This is a good visual of what our Woodbury call center looks like. So post-COVID, when we're able to safely return back to a work environment, this is a good visual of what a call center environment looks like. Everybody has their own private cube area. You work in teams based on the insurance company that you're supporting. This Woodbury location is a single floor building, vaulted ceilings, open glass, direct light coming in. It's very contemporary, large break rooms, well lit, nicely decorated, a great way to build team around people working on the same policy. And these 5 steps on the right-hand side, these are basically values that came out of our executive team saying these are the things that we want to drill down into our organization, that everybody at the entry level to the highest level understands that these are our guiding principles about valuing each other, helping people in need, being innovative and helping us grow, but you too can learn and have a career path here. Yes, we're a relatively small company, but we're big in the marketplace and we're going to get bigger. Todd, I'll turn it back to you.
Perfect. So there were a few questions that came in on the chat. Maybe I'll highlight those because I think they're on everyone's mind, and I realize we really haven't spoken to it too much. So as far as post-COVID days, what does the horizon look like for working from home? And I would say we don't have a formal plan in place yet at this point. What we would tell people is we would like people to come back into the office. We know that's not going to be a reality. It's certainly not a necessity. We've been operating and actually we've had a very good year despite people being work from home. So maybe not a big surprise, but it was good confirmation to have. Being that we're a medium-sized company, one thing that we think we thrive on is just having teams together and being able to, cultivate those experiences and whatnot. But times certainly are changing. We actually are recruiting candidates out of state here at this point to pilot a little bit more of what, just a permanent work from home employee would be. So for local candidates here to the Twin Cities, it's great to have people in the Twin Cities area specifically to come in for trainings, to be able to come to a town hall meeting, come in for special events, those types of things. Or if you're not performing in your job, it would be requested to be coming back into the office. So the answer to it, I guess, is we don't quite know yet. The sense is, though, that if people are performing in their job, if they have certainly some concerns, even after, the state or whomever deems it safe for people to be back at work full time, we're still going to be accommodating to people as long as, they're performing in their position, as need be.
Todd, we've
yeah.
30 seconds left.
Okay, sounds good. The other thing was sales, and this is all inbound. It's really just focusing on helping people. So really nothing that you're selling, nothing that you're pushing product on. It's calls that might take 2 minutes to help somebody or an hour. And really you're just answering their questions.
I also saw a question about pay, and we do start everybody in our contact centers at $16 an hour. It goes to $16.50 at 6 months and $17 an hour at your anniversary. It is merit eligible, and these are at 40 hours or 24 hours or more, fully benefited positions.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. There's so much information here, and we could go on for another hour, I bet. I've posted your careers page, ltcg.com/careers, in the chat, as well as your email, careers.ltcg.com. Reach out to Todd and Steve through that email. They'll get back to you, and feel free to answer any other questions in the chat. So thank you so much, Steve and Todd. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Meanwhile, I want to switch and go over to Medica. We've got Rich Buckley here from Medica, and he's going to tell you about how they operate. I know he's already been answering questions already in the chat. So hello, Rich. We'll see if I'll try. Are you there?
I'm here. Yep. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now, Liz?
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Steve and Todd. It was great to hear you share updates and information on your roles. As I was listening through your guys' presentation, what struck me most was the similarities between roles in both of our organizations for customer service positions, and hopefully we'll kind of touch on a couple of those as we go through this quick presentation. So next slide, please, Liz. Yeah, mission and vision are important, and Todd did a lovely job kind of exploring that for long-term care, and we are also very fortunate, I think. This is probably the first organization, truthfully, that I've worked for that had a really nice, high level of engagement with the mission statement of the organization. I think lots of companies struggle with these statements. They represent so much about an organization, but you have to encapsulate that thought and that emotion in a few short words. But truthfully, since John Naylor, who took over as the head of our organization in 2017 after a long career at Medica in our commercial sales leadership role, this idea of being the trusted health plan of choice for all our different stakeholders, customers, members, partners, and including our employees, has really connected with us as a company. In fact, we started off with a campaign to try and shorten that mission, and it came out as TPOC with the trusted health plan of choice. The H is silent, but that's less relevant than the connection and the understanding of what that means to the majority of the organization on a day-to-day basis. And I love this word trust. And just as with the LTCG folks, healthcare is complicated. It is emotional when you're engaged or involved in the delivery or the administration of healthcare services in any way. That sense of trust has to be a shared one, and we're really fortunate to have that. And then our vision includes the word community, and I think some of you may be familiar with Medica as an organization. We have a foundation. The Medica Foundation awards about $1 million each year in grants to community-based organizations that are in in lots of different types of service, many healthcare related, trying to deal with healthcare inequities and the delivery of healthcare services, as well as a number of other charitable organizations and groups. So next slide, please, Liz. And actually, we can skip through to the next slide. We don't need to linger on the agenda. Oh, back one. There we go. Oh, no, you're right. You were right the first time. Thanks, Liz. Medica has been in the Minneapolis market for a number of years, and originally established in 1975, nonprofit health plan. What we've seen most recently, though, is this expansion of our geographic footprint, I think for many of the years that I have been working for Medica, we were really kind of a 4-state plan. And over the last 3 years, we've expanded that footprint. And now we would consider ourselves kind of covering the heart of America. So that's Minnesota, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri. You can see those states listed there. And in some of these geographies, we don't share all of the segments that we operate in as a health plan company or as an insurance company. So we're fortunate to have a pretty broad portfolio of products in both the state and government program side of healthcare, the individual and family business side, as well as commercial. So we're not in all 3 of those segments in all these different locations, but oftentimes there's at least one segment that is a lead in to create network opportunities, provider networks. Those are the clinics and hospitals that we work directly with, to establish that pattern of care and service, and then look to expand other product lines in those states that honestly are receptive to additional health plan support. Well, we're now about 2,000 employees with almost in the bulk, probably 95% of those employees based out of Minnesota and in the Minnetonka location. We do have offices in St. Paul, Duluth, St. Cloud, Fargo, and Omaha. In fact, our St. Paul office is brand new. It's just getting wrapped up. We completed a build out of space in the Amherst Wilder Foundation building, which is in the Midway area of St. Paul. And this was a decision organizationally we made really in response to all of the events from last year, the events surrounding George Floyd's death, but also as a way to bring opportunity to a part of the Twin Cities that is really has a long history of inequity and financial challenge and a lack of network and opportunity. So the roles that we're setting up out of our new Midway location are primarily in claims and customer service, and altogether we'll have about 65 seats in that location. I talked about multi-segment support, and then I also mentioned a little earlier the Medica Foundation, which, as we said, is a charitable grant-giving portion of our business. Next slide, please, Liz. You can go to, yep, next slide, Liz. Thank you. Our application process, relatively straightforward for customer service. It's definitely a mobile, device-friendly, quick apply process. We do post all of our jobs to our career site, but then also traditional job aggregators that you'd see, LinkedIn, Indeed, state job sites, of course. Our application are all reviewed by a recruiter. We don't have any artificial intelligence screening candidates for our roles, which is nice. You hopefully get a set of eyes on your resume. The process also includes, for those individuals that pass an initial phone screen, job sim. So this is a test that we share with all of our candidates. It's definitely a customer service job simulation exercise, and based on performance in that test, those individuals would then progress into the next steps of the process. And that really is just a team-based interview, so really 2 interviews overall, following which offers extended, and those are extended on a contingent basis. New hires at Medica are eligible for benefits as of the first day of their first full month of employment. Those benefits being healthcare related predominantly. Things like PTO, 401k, those types of benefits are actually eligible as of your first day of employment. Lots of questions in chat, of course, about return to office. So just briefly, as of right now, our kind of line in the sand for return to office was a 4/1 date, at which we had committed that no one would be returning to the office. So after 4/1, we anticipate that there will be a small group of individuals kind of testing out protocols that we have created on site to keep people safe. Truly, I think that date is likely going to get extended again. And I think realistically, we'll probably not have general access for employees to the facilities and the building much earlier than late summer. So maybe a little bit similar to long-term care's team. And we don't have a crystal ball, so there's nothing guaranteed in that particular situation. We are supplying all equipment for individuals to work from home in the interim. That includes dual screens, a laptop, keyboards, basically a technical package to support you working from home. You do need to have the internet at your house, and you need to have appropriate bandwidth to support different applications. One caveat being for those that may still receive their internet through the air, like a direct TV or dish, that is actually an option that doesn't work for us. A hardline internet connection is something that you absolutely need to run the various applications that are part of this role. Next slide, please, Liz. We are also currently hiring. In fact, Carissa on my team was set to join us this afternoon, but we have a lot of activity for our customer service hiring. We're hiring 25 roles for a 3/8 start date. 10 of those positions will be based out of our new Midway location. And then the balance will be working out of our Minnetonka address. We're also, just as an FYI, going to be recruiting for another class that we're bringing on board essentially as contract to hire. It's some additional bandwidth for our team to connect with customer service representatives. That's a second class that is actually going to start ahead of 3/8 on the 1st of March. So we'll be sharing opportunities for those positions in the coming days that we will basically solicit candidates through our DAL MSP. Next slide, please, Liz. So as I mentioned in chat, 100% inbound telephonic customer service environment. We're averaging 40 calls per day, approximately. It does depend upon the time of year. We talked a little bit about resources and, the ability to access resources in a technical environment. Our customer service reps are probably accessing anything from, 6 to 10 different applications during the course of some of those calls. So these are resource applications, they're enterprise resource platforms. And so that tech savvy, we'll talk a smidge about it a little bit later, but that tech savvy component is definitely something that we look for in candidates. Minimum high school diploma plus at least 2 years of customer service experience are the qualifications to be considered. Next slide, Liz. Some complexity maybe kind of shown by our 8 weeks of paid training. So this is on-the-job training prior to any live calls with members. And I think in our current circumstances, even that feels like it goes really quickly for our new hires and our newly onboarded customer service reps. So, but whether it's in the helpline specialist role or customer service role, it's 8 weeks. Some of our other kind of volume-driven positions in the claims area, it could be a little less, 6 weeks. But even so, that's all paid training. We want to obviously be comfortable and confident that you can be successful once you start interacting with members in a live environment. Training hours are Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. And then our lines are essentially staffed 6 days a week from 7 to 9. With Saturdays from 9 to 3. So there are opportunities to flex schedule, earlier starts, earlier ends, or working evenings and working on weekends as well. Next slide, Liz. I think this was a key to share this afternoon, what we're looking for. This sense of accountability, and Todd, I think, and both Steve referenced this as well, but a sense of accountability to help members navigate what is essentially a very complicated process. Some of our members are frustrated by the complexity of health claims and the healthcare delivery process. Certainly it is complicated in its nature, and we want to be able to help them as best we can. I think those individuals that get a genuine sense of accomplishment from solving problems and answering questions are going to enjoy this type of environment, and you should enjoy speaking to and listening to our members throughout the day. That resourcefulness, the ability or interest to track down information, first call resolution. Again, the LTCG team mentioned that's a big part of what we consider delivering a quality experience from our members, trying to really take care of them in that initial call. And then you should be and enjoy being part of a team and supporting other team members with their challenges and their issues as they deliver this service. It's a busy and often demanding role, so time management and managing time effectively and efficiently is critical. And you should enjoy learning new skills and knowledge and then sharing that knowledge with our members. I did make a reference earlier to that tech-savvy component. There is a lot of digital data access as part of this day-to-day role. So the ability to switch through screens, I shared that we have a tech package that includes 2 dual screen monitors, so you can access information relatively quickly, but you need to have a skill set that feels comfortable in that tech environment. So definitely a component of the requirement. And then, as I also referenced earlier, you need to be able to pass our customer service job simulation assessment. Next slide, please. Yeah. So from an opportunity perspective, you can add segments to your experience. And we also would like you to stay in your initially hired FTE role for a year. But you can grow within that health plan specialist role, that customer service role in your first year. As your competency builds, then there are opportunities to take additional training, support projects, expand your knowledge base in that way. And beyond that role, there are promotional opportunities into supervisory positions, management and leadership, as well as quality, analytics, workforce management, and some of these other areas of Medica. So definitely our call center group is a feeder for opportunities within the rest of the organization. Our 3 current call center managers, we just did a little accounting of this, that manage and oversee all of our customer service people. Were probably just about 370 people. They share 37 years of Medica customer service experience between them. So definitely teams that you can join and feel confident that the individuals know Medica, they know our culture, and they know this role inside and out. Next slide, Liz. Benefits, and again, so some questions. Steve added some comments here. $17.50 an hour to start. There are overtime opportunities and shift differential pay. I mentioned some of those off hours. Our role also supports based on some of those key metrics and measures for quality, a monthly performance bonus of $300 a month. So that's something that all our health plan specialists, our customer service reps have access to, that additional performance bonus. Paid time off of 18 days per year. Our PTO is an accrual-based platform. We have 9 paid holidays, one of which is a floating holiday for you to select at your own choice. We also fund 16 hours of paid time off, or VTO, volunteer time off, for volunteering and supporting organizations that you have a passion for. So part of that community experience. Comprehensive insurance options. Obviously, we are a health plan, so it creates some unique advantages for our own employees to source options that fit their needs from a health plan perspective. You're immediately vested in our 401k program. There's no wait period for that. We have dependent healthcare, flex spending accounts. And if we do ever return to the office, which hopefully we will to some extent, then we have a dress for the day, casual environment. And that certainly was appreciated prior to going into the COVID lockdown. Next slide, please, Liz. And finally, I just wanted to include for those that do track through to the recording of the presentation, that last recruiter highlight. I mentioned Carissa on our team earlier. Carissa is the individual on our team that really works to support our operations group with some of this volume recruitment for both call center and claims processes. She is happy to connect with you. She's just a wonderful recruiter, and between myself and the rest of the team, we're all available to network with and connect with as you have questions about Medica. And I think that's it, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, a couple of questions that we're just about out of time here too, but someone was asking about customer service experience. You said 2 years of customer service. If someone has worked in retail, like cashiering, does that count?
Sure. Yeah, it's a really great question, and I would say yes. Because we apply that label of customer service to a variety of service-based interactions with a business's customers, but those could be service-oriented or retail-oriented. I will say this though, you guys, particularly for new employees joining us at this unique time, there is value to having delivered a customer service experience telephonically, because it is slightly different. It does require these kind of, tech-savvy skills. You're not just meeting with somebody face-to-face. You're reliant on a lot of resources that are, embedded in applications to deliver information to our members. So, but 2 years of customer service experience generally is what's required, and I think we have a focus on some extra discussion around telephonic experience as well.
That's great. Thank you very much, Rich, for being on the call today and talking about Medica. There are a couple of more questions in the chat. Maybe you can type a few answers. And meanwhile, I'm going to go on and invite Heather Isaacs, my colleague from Career Force St. Paul. She's going to help pull everything together, right? Your job seeking experience, when you're looking for a job, you need help. And what are some of the upcoming events that and ways that Career Force can help you?
Sure. Welcome, everyone. Glad to be here. Just a reminder, you can always reach any Career Force specialists over the phone or by email, and you'll see the careerforcemn.com/location, so you can look up the location nearest you. Next, Liz. And just a reminder as well for minnesotaworks.net, just a kind of an example of how you might do a search in there. We also did recently do a minnesotaworks.net online class, and I know we will be having one again this month. And check out careerforcemn.com for the exact date on that. Next. Just upcoming events that you'll want to take a look at, and of course, all virtual at this time. You'll see, this morning was Creative Job Search, but next week you'll have a chance to make sure to get into the Job Search Over 50 workshop, practical advice for any mid-career job seeker. Also, the interview skills workshop tomorrow, so want to probably grab a chance to register for that this afternoon to make sure that you get the link to join tomorrow. Or take advantage of the Building Resume in Word, MS Word 3 online workshop. Have to tell you, I listened to the recorded sessions of those earlier, and so much fantastic information on how to make your resume in Word. So definitely recommend those to you. Next. And some upcoming virtual career fairs tomorrow with Anoka County. And again, you'll want to pre-register for that to get their virtual link. And then next week is the Washington County Virtual Career Fair. And that's in partnership with the Career Force location and the Washington County Library System. And they've got a website for more information on that. And next. Upcoming events, always on Tuesdays, 2:30 to 3:30. We'll have the med tech industry on the 9th, irrigation and landscaping coming up on the 16th, and on the 23rd, building products production. So all those a great chance to look at some new career opportunities for yourself, or maybe you know some other people looking for work and you'd like to invite them to get involved. And next. And just a reminder, when you go to our Career Force page, some of the things that you can see, you can look for upcoming events, look at employer profiles, such as our two speakers today, LTCG and Medica. You can also comment on Career Force if you've had a successful interaction with one of our specialists or one of our partners, let us know. And you also get more information how to explore careers for some of the links that Liz showed you earlier this morning. Take a look at our blog and sign up for any virtual events. All locations are doing individual assistance appointments. They are two types, one by phone where you can call and talk about any of your questions, or you can do an online resume review with a staff member at your nearest location. And next.
So Heather, question about that. If they do want their
sure.
resume reviewed, do they go to careerforcemn.com, find their location, and then what?
Sure. A couple of ways. I know in our office it's pretty common for people just to send a resume directly to our St. Paul email box, and all centers will have a general email box like that. So for example, careerforce.brooklyn park, careerforce.mora, etc. at state.mn.us. And those email boxes are checked every day by staff people. Or if you would prefer, you can sign up for an appointment in minnesotaworks.net, and you can send us your minnesotaworks.net resume to us, or tell us you've got an account. So it might be, hi, I'm Liz Jennings. I've got a resume in minnesotaworks.net that I'd like someone to review. And then we can take a look at that resume for you. And then the job seeker phone support tends to be anything outside of the resume. So maybe you want to call and get information about the dislocated worker program, or you'd like to know about some training options, what schools offer CNA training or technical training or what have you. Or you say, you know, I remember I saw this screen about ONET online, but I can't remember how to navigate to it, or I'd like to kind of explore that further with somebody and walk through the assessment. So those are all things that we certainly could do over the phone with job seekers.
Great, thank you. And our last slide, Heather's email, my email. Get in touch with us if you have questions. Our Career Force Help Desk colleagues are on the phones. I mean, they have a mini call center of their own with 3 people on it. They're there to answer your questions or get you connected with any of these resources. So once again, I want to thank Rich Buckley of Medica, Todd Shank and Steve Jewell of LTCG, Heather Isaacs of Career Force St. Paul, and all of you job seekers on the call for all of your great questions. Thank you very much, and be sure to register and come back next week when we talk about med tech companies and jobs in that industry. So have a good afternoon.